It all started when I was reading the BBC. So I saw this news. It says petrol lead still exists in London Air 22 years after ban. So then I didn't even read the article fully. I just read the title and it reminded me of only one thing, and that is London Air. So petrol lead was banned in London in 1999 because it was mixing with the air. But this article says that there is still petrol lead in London air. But the word London air reminded me of the Great Smog of London in 1952, December 5th to 9th. It was 4 days. It was also called as a pea soup because the entire of London was filled with smoke. It was a severe air pollution event. It also affected places surrounding London. There was no wind. There were there was an anticyclone, and they had collected a lot of airborne pollutants because mostly of coal, which formed a thick layer of smog, which is like smoke and fog included. It was smelling like rotten eggs, as the announcement was said. It was also called pea soupers, and it more than 4,000 people died as a direct result, and 1 lakh more people got ill by the smog's effects on the human respiratory tract. But now more researchers said that there might be around 1,200 deaths. So London has always been a very poor air quality place from the 13th century, but it got worse in the 1600s. So after this 4 days of suffering, and people were not able to see, there was no visibility on the road. People was coughing and they died of pneumonia, bronchitis mostly. This also reminded me of the Clean Air Act 1956. It was passed almost 4 years after the Great Smog of London, and this act just was to tackle all the air pollution events and smogs that are yet to come. The Great Smog of London actually occurred because of sulfur mixing with the coal that was being burnt, which caused this thick layer of fog around the entire city. So they banned these kind of smokeful fuels, and they started using smokeless fuels. That's what the Clean Air Act of 1956 actually says to do. It also measures it also includes measures that reduce the emission of gases, grit, and dust from like chimneys and smokestacks, because in London people use chimneys. Yeah, so they also included measures to tackle that issue, and but this actually developed more than 4 years after the Great Smog of London, and just it just made me think about why it took 4 hours to create this act. Not 4 hours, sorry, 4 years. Why it took 4 years to develop this act after thousands of people died in the Great Smog of London in 1952. So that also makes me think about a further big issue that might happen: the air pollution. Air pollution in Delhi, air pollution in India, and air pollution everywhere. Air pollution comes because of gases, dust, and so much more. and it's also because of greenhouse greenhouse thing that blocks all the gases to go out from the atmosphere of Earth. And not just air pollution, but there are a lot of pollution like water pollution, uh, like noise pollution, like light pollution, and so much more. But this video in Globe series is about air pollution. So a few years ago, air pollution in Delhi, the air quality was the worst of any city in the world. And it's they have also estimated that it's about to kill 2 million people every year, and that's even more than COVID-19. It may also it damages your lung because of all those different harmful substances we bring to earth, harmful substances we create, like sulfur dioxide, like carbon dioxide, so much more. We don't create them especially, but we find ways to use them more and more, which creates an even more threat to the environment. And if the environment is threatened, we are also threatened. Without the environment, we can't survive in Earth. Without the atmosphere, we can't survive in Earth. And we should know that we should at least try to reduce the air pollution. So as you can see in this chart, a thick fog covered Delhi that they could not even find out the aerosol optical net, which is a type of test they run to check the amount of sunlight. And look at how foggy it is. Even through tests, the fog blocked them from checking out how much whatever test they were running. That much fog was there in Delhi that people called it Narek, which means hell in Hindi. And but why did that all happen? For one, it was because many more people were going to work. Many more people were using cars, ACs, and there's extreme heat in Delhi during the summer. So people have used a lot of AC. The electrical consumption went up. The petrol consumption went up, and so much more impacted the pollution of the city. And what were the things that were done to tackle that issues? Well, for number one, they introduced this idea called even and odd. So there were days issued, like on this day, only people with an even car number or a bike number or vehicle number has to be an even number. Then you can go out during that car, go on during that day. So if for example, if my car number was something like 0139, I can use my car only on the day that it's odd number. So that substantially reduce the number of car rides and vehicle rides every day. That did make an impact because many more people were carpooling because their car might not be an even number or an odd number. And many more people were cycling to office, cycling to work, or cycling to school. That substantially reduced the air quality index. But some of the other things that they could have actually done is increased petrol and diesel prices. They could have increased the government could have increased the taxes on petrol and diesel, because most of our petrol and diesel is from imported. It's imported from like Saudi Arabia, Middle East, from Africa, and so much more places, like crude oil. They could increase the tax on crude oil, which would have increased the price of petrol and diesel. So many more people would choose to walk or carpool or just use a regular bicycle to go to work. So they could have done that. And maybe possibly what they could have done is, I'm not sure if it will work. They could have what else could have they done? So if you think of any other solutions that people could have think of, well, you could kindly let me know in the comments. And what they could have possibly done during the summer season for to make sure people don't use a lot of AC is they could have marketed more of these not gas leaving ACs, more like the natural ACs, like coolers, which does not leave any carbon dioxide or harmful gases out to the environment. And they could have possibly started to look upon alternative ideas for using an AC, something that is much more environmentally friendly. They could have researched, they could have come up with a new solution, and so much more. But now the concern is, now it's gone down pretty good. Before it was 500 in the air quality index, now it's around 250, 200, 300. But that is not enough. It needs to go down even more. But if you're not in Delhi, if you're in some other place, you need to know your surroundings, right? So if you just search the air quality index in Google, it will show you some of the results from some of the air quality index measuring places near you. In Chennai, I'm in Chennai. So I'm just choosing the place which is near me, and it's just showing me the air quality index. So this is the air quality index over here. In near Taramani Velacheri, there is minor breathing discomfort to sensitive people. So that's what it says. It's so the air quality index should be 0 to 50 for good, but it can never be 0, right? It can at least it can never be 0. So what you can do is by being aware of your surroundings, by being aware of the air quality index in your place, you could take some steps to make sure it gets even better than it already is. You could stop using the AC when you have breeze, and you could carpool, you could go by this bicycle. And now I'm sure many people are not going out, but when you do go out, please make sure you take all of these efforts and you do all of these measures to make sure that our air quality is always good and that we are able to breathe. So thank you for watching this episode of Globe. So Globe is a series about environment and environmental hazards, environmental events, and things like that. So thank you for watching this episode, and I'll be back with more episodes for the Globe series. And see you later, and thank you so much.